Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, I'm going to be going over what I think is the overall philosophy for this offseason for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So when Kyle Dubas picks up the phone to negotiate a trade with another general manager, this is what I think is going through his head. When he picks up the phone to maybe possibly sign a free agent, this is what I think he's looking for. So I whipped up this quick little armchair GM here. Let's not split hairs over a couple of the contract projections here, but the Maple Leafs could be looking at more or less about $4.3 million in cap space to work with. And remember, you can always exceed the upper limit of the salary cap by 10%. So the upper limit is $81.5 million. You can always go over that number by $8.15 million if you really need to when you're making trades and signings, and you can make trades or whatever you need to later to be cap compliant before the season starts. But in order to touch on what I think Kyle Dubas is thinking when he picks up the phone to negotiate with another general manager in a trade, I think we need to talk about this year's free agent group first. Usually guys on the open market signed overvalued deals because you have a lot of teams bidding against each other for their services. But we've already kind of heard rumors and tricklings of teams saying that they're going to have to be operating under internal salary caps this offseason, under the $81.5 million limit. There's already about half a dozen or so teams in the NHL that operate under internal salary caps under normal circumstances. I wouldn't be surprised to find out after the fact that about half the teams in the league are operating under internal salary caps, because teams like the Pittsburgh Penguins are already rumored to be a part of that list, and it's the friggin' Penguins. And if everyone else has less money to spend and teams are operating under internal salary caps and the cap is staying flat for the next couple of years, player salaries should be going down. So while the cap is staying flat for the next couple of years, and so are players' salaries, and that really hurts the Leafs because they just shilled out a bunch of overmarket deals to their best players, I think that they can still be okay. Because the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be spending up to the upper limit no matter what it is. I mean, just look at how much money they spent this year on player salaries alone. It was $111 million, and they technically didn't even make the playoffs. The Toronto Maple Leafs, under normal circumstances, have a lot more money than 95% of the teams in this league. So in this scenario where everyone else has even less than what they normally would, and player salaries are going to kind of stay flat or even go down, I think they can really take advantage of that. Two prime examples of this, guys that the Toronto Maple Leafs are more than likely going to be calling whenever free agency starts: Radco, Goudas, and Demello. If you guys have been watching this channel for a while now, you'd remember when I showed you the contract projections from EvolvingHockey.com or Evolving Wild on Twitter here. Those numbers were a lot higher before. About 20 to 30% higher. Both were projected to be over the $3 million range. Even a guy like Alex Pietrangelo, who was projected to be over $9 million, is now about $500,000 or $600,000 less. The larger guys, I don't think there's going to be much of a swing, maybe 5-10% difference, but the smaller guys like Radco, Goudas, or Demello, who are both very effective players, 20 to 30% is a big difference. I mean, the cap going up from $81.5 million to $84 million is only a 3% increase to begin with. But let's say the drops in their salary after the fact is not that dramatic. Let's say it's not 20 to 30%. Let's say it's just 10%. Inflation was only 3% anyway. Methinks 10% is bigger than 3%. So if the norm is for these guys to sign overmarket, overvalued deals because you have a lot of teams bidding for them, but now you have teams spending under internal salary caps and they don't have as much money to spend, that might lead to a market overcorrection to where these guys actually sign deals for less than what they're actually worth. You know what that sounds like to me, folks? That sounds like a market inefficiency. You know who uses that word quite a bit? Kyle Dubas. That was a very long-winded explanation and a roundabout way to say that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be very active in free agency this year. So now that we understand that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be very active in free agency this year because there could be a market inefficiency there, what are they going to do in trades? What's their trade strategy here? Well, to be active in free agency, you need capital. You need more cap space. So what's the Toronto Maple Leafs game plan when it comes to trades this year? What's Kyle Dubas' strategy when he calls up other general managers? Well, he's not taking back any contracts and he's not retaining any salary. Which is why I don't think they upgrade the defense via a trade. I think they do it via free agency. Because if you're getting one of or both Demello and Goudas for under market value deals, you don't have to give up any assets to sign them. It's just the cap space. Unless you can absolutely win a trade for a big name defenseman, I don't think they go that route. Which is why if you're looking at a guy like Matt Roy and wondering why so many people are geeking out about him, well, he's pretty damn good. He shoots right-handed. He's over 6 feet tall. He's over 200 pounds. But more importantly, he makes $700K next year. UFA goalies are also going to be cheaper, and it's the reason why a guy like Frederik Andersen is on the block. If you're interested in a more detailed explanation into that, I did an entire video talking about it. Which is why if you're looking at the Kasperi Kapanen trade, the most valuable thing in there, other than the 15th overall pick, obviously, cap space. There's no obligation to re-sign Evan Rodriguez. That's why if you're looking at an Andreas Janssen trade, yeah, they can get like a second-round pick and maybe a mid-level prospect for him, but more importantly, cap space. And maybe there'll be more veteran players available on the open market who are open to taking 1-year league minimum deals. Can we find another Jason Spezza? And that's why a guy like Evan Rodriguez, Pierre Engvall, even Ilya Mikheyev, who did nothing against the Columbus Blue Jackets, maybe they're not worth their contracts. Maybe a guy like Travis Dermott, maybe he signs for less money. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section, because it is a very interesting conversation to see how players' salaries are going to shake out this offseason. And make sure to like the video if you did like it, and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, remember, there's not just one solution to solve the problem here. There are many, and this offseason is, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. I don't think that you're going to see a lot of things coming that do happen.